At a rented ranch outside Dripping Springs, Texas, just after sunrise on a warm May morning, a smartwatch on Khalid El-Sayeg's wrist recorded a flat line of steps and pulse. 11 minutes later, a keyless door log showed an exit from the kitchen door that his watch did not confirm. By mid-morning, a bank alert timeline marked 3 contactless purchases tied to a woman listed as a guest on the rental, while the vehicle's last GPS ping placed a pickup on a gravel road behind the house, not at the front gate as claimed. If he went out for a jog, why did the devices say he never left the kitchen? Before we dive in, subscribe if you value careful, original investigations like this. Khalid El-Sayeg had spent most of his adult life inside glass towers and boardrooms that smelled like cold air and printer ink. He was the son of a Dubai oil family and the face of a private holding that managed fuel shipping, offshore insurance, and a new division that spoke the language of transition funds and clean tech. He was 47, soft-spoken in public, direct in private, and he liked routine. He ran the same 2 laps along Jumeirah Beach when he was home. He read procurement sheets like other people read novels. He disliked surprises. The surprise entered on a soft hook. A fundraiser in Houston for wildfire recovery brought him across the Atlantic in early spring. A local donor organized a dinner at a hotel ballroom dressed to resemble a ranch kitchen, with exposed beams and copper pots. Jenna Mae Collins stood near a photo wall under a sign for a wellness brand that had a logo on tote bags and glass water bottles. She presented herself as a founder. She spoke about prenatal nutrition and corporate partnerships. She wore a pass like a person who belonged in green rooms and investor suites. The mask worked. It looked like a credential. He was not careless. His assistant, Layla Haddad, age 36, had learned his habits and his pressure points over 6 years. She was sharp on logistics, trained on anti-fraud basics, and loyal to a fault. She knew he had been lonely since a quiet divorce that never made gossip pages. What pressed on him now was not only attention but also a way to talk about change without shame. A woman from Texas who said she believed in wind and water could fit inside a story about legacy. He wanted a bridge from oil to something cleaner. Romance made that bridge feel like a real road. Jenna's mask had layers. There was a wellness company registered in Austin with a short name and a bright website. There were photos of tasting rooms and a silent advisory board page with placeholder text that suggested lawyers and doctors without naming them. The company filed a sales tax permit. It had a bank account at a regional branch. It placed small wholesale orders with a co-packer outside San Antonio. It looked like a startup that just needed a bigger check. Meetings moved from ballroom to private suites, a drink without alcohol, a pitch that felt like a conversation, a promise to show him real Texas, not the stage set. Late in spring, a calendar invite appeared on Layla's screen for a tour of hill country properties. The invite came from a realtor who worked with quiet buyers. It included coordinates and a day plan. It was the type of message that bypassed normal channels and still looked ordinary. Layla filed it without comment because she trusted his timing. His security detail thinned as the trip turned casual. The head of detail left out after the first week to take care of a family matter. A local driver filled in. The circle tightened to Khalid, Jenna, and one rented pickup with low miles and a clean smell. The air hung warm over limestone and cedar. Photos posted later by other guests at the fundraiser made it look like a harmless detour after a good event. The trigger came dressed as care. Jenna said the air in the hills would do him good. She said the ranch house had a kitchen he could actually cook in. She talked about a community clinic she wanted to open for mothers who worked night shifts and service jobs. She said donors like to see sights before they gave. She said she would drive because she knew the back roads. Each word felt plausible. Each step pulled him one pace further from the routines that kept him safe. Layla did a basic search on Jenna's company. The state registry showed an active filing. The address matched a co-working space on Congress Avenue. The brand's social channels had steady posts with clean fonts, soft color palettes, and many images of hands holding mugs. It felt bland, and that can feel safe. Mugs. She printed a one-page sheet for the file and told herself to keep watching. A week later, a contract arrived from a property manager. It described a month-long rental at a ranch outside Dripping Springs, with 3 bedrooms, a locked outbuilding, a keyless entry pad, and a short gravel drive. The invoice came through a platform that handled insurance and deposits. The guest list named Khalid as primary and Jenna as an approved visitor. A scanned passport page sat in the portal, along with a wire instruction page. Layla moved money from a U.S. account used for travel to cover the deposit and first week. The message receipts looked unremarkable. By the end of that day, the itinerary and Khalid's airline profile showed an open return. The private charter broker he used for long hauls had a flexible hold on a flight out of Austin with a crew that preferred morning departures. The pilot texted a handler that they were in a ready posture for a 36-hour window. The pieces were in motion, and nothing on paper looked wrong. He clicked a confirm on the ranch booking and added Jenna as an authorized guest. The commitment was binding, the travel set, and the handoff scheduled. Commitments escalate in small, quiet moves. The ranch contract extended from 1 week to 3 at Jenna's request, citing a site walk with a county health liaison about clinic permits. The property manager added a visitor parking tag and sent an access code for the service gate. A smart home app created a digital key that could be shared to one more phone. Layla watched the permissions propagate across emails and text messages she could not read but could see in log headers. Money began to move in thin threads. A per diem flowed from the travel account to a prepaid card tied to the wellness brand. The bank flagged the card for a manual review, then cleared it when supporting documents arrived from Jenna's bookkeeper, a person with a free mail address with a nickname that looked like a real name. The amounts were small enough to feel harmless, but the pattern showed a transfer of trust from internal controls to someone outside the company. Quiet flags surfaced and were rationalized. Jenna posted a photo from a farmer's market with the ranch in the background, but location metadata was stripped. Layla could not place the stall. The caption used the word home in a way that felt fast. The realtor's itinerary for property tours shifted twice and then stopped updating at all. When Layla asked the broker about the return flight, the handler replied that the client might drive to Dallas for a meeting, then depart from there, and that the crew was fine with a new plan. It sounded normal because rich people change plans. Normal explains a lot until it explains too much. A system entered the story in a helpful way. The property manager's platform sent automated notifications when codes were used. It listed timestamps in local time, tagged by door. It created a clean audit trail for check-ins and check-outs and for maintenance visits. When the housekeeper came on a weekday morning, the log showed an entry through the service door and a run of 30 minutes before exit. When the pool tech came, the log marked the west gate and a quick in and out. The system worked like a witness who cannot speak but can point to a clock. Medical drift crept into the margins. Jenna sent a receipt to the travel inbox for a clinic visit in Austin, labeled as urgent care, with an amount that did not fit a simple cold or flu. A later charge appeared for lab processing. No diagnosis line showed on the receipt. When Layla asked, Jenna used the soft language of precaution and stress and a reaction to cedar pollen. It played like small talk and was left alone. On a Saturday, Khalid forwarded a scanned letter from a Texas escrow officer. It was a gift letter template for a down payment on a small commercial lease for a clinic site. The letter had blank lines for names and dates and a space for a signature and a notary stamp. He asked Layla to coordinate with counsel to make sure the language did not bind his holding company. She sent a clean version back that tied the gift to his personal capacity only. He signed it and attached a transfer for earnest money to an escrow account under an LLC that listed Jenna as manager. That step was not about romance, it was about speed. It placed money inside a box in Texas law that would be hard to pull back without a fight. It made a thing feel real and therefore safe. People believe in the paper they sign. Another quiet flag slid by. Jenna had 2 last names in different documents. On some forms she was Collins, on others she was Dwyer Collins. The co-working space listed a mailbox number that did not match the business registration email. The wellness brand claimed partnerships with 2 hospitals that did not confirm those ties when Layla's intern called. But a volunteer at one hospital gift shop said the brand had hosted a tasting table during a community day. Thin facts can look like thick ones when the gloss is steady. Jenna's mask held. She moved with ease in restaurants where people recognized her from social posts. She used words like board, advisory, and pilot program. She wrote with soft exclamation points. She dropped hints about a future that looked like a storybook, but spelled with corporate nouns. The Hill Country was a mood board come to life. It felt like the right place to announce something. On a Sunday evening, the ranch driveway filled with cars. The property manager list showed a new temporary code created by Jenna. The house speakers played a cheerful playlist created by Jenna. An empty box from a boutique bakery sat on the counter the next morning. In the trash, a wrapper from a home test kit lay under paper towels. It said what it said, without printing the actual word. The only person who needed to understand it understood it. After that night, the bank alert timeline showed 2 small purchases at a pharmacy and 1 appointment booked at a clinic that handled early prenatal care. Jenna's messages shifted tone. There were more hearts and fewer commas. There were words about protection and legacy. Khalid did not push back. He liked order, and fatherhood felt like an order he could make work. He asked Layla to review a draft amendment to a trust that would set aside funds for any future child, held in a separate account, disbursed after proof of birth and parentage. Counsel advised a cautious structure. He agreed. Counsel advised the amendment moved to a notary in a law office in downtown Austin, and a copy lived in a firm's document vault. The non-reversible step followed the paper. He extended the ranch rental by 2 more weeks. He told the charter broker to stand down until further notice. He approved Jenna's request to add her phone to the smart lock list as a manager, not a guest, so she could create and revoke temporary codes. He gave her the garage remote, which controlled the side gate as well. He slipped his routine into her hands because routines are made of access, and access is control. He signed the trust amendment and authorized the gift letter transfer to the Texas escrow. The point of no return was crossed with a pen stroke and a wire. The break did not arrive like thunder. It arrived as a silence that did not fit the morning. Thunder. On a Tuesday, just after first light, The ranch's smart lock log recorded the service door closing. A minute later, the kitchen motion sensor woke and then went still. The smartwatch on Khalid's wrist registered a short rise in heart rate, then settled. It did not record a series of steps long enough to leave the house. It did not see an outside temperature. It did not shift from indoor air to outdoor air. Devices have no reason to lie. At mid-morning, Jenna messaged the property manager that Khalid had gone for a run before dawn and had not returned. She asked whether the back gate might have stuck. She said he liked the trails near the creek. She said she was worried. The manager called the local sheriff's office. A deputy arrived and walked the gravel. Boot prints showed in the dust, but wind can play tricks with prints. The neighbor's camera at the bend in the road had a motion trigger. The timestamp on that clip showed a pickup moving slowly at a time that did not match the alleged run. The license plate did not show clearly, but the shape of the grille and a small dent on the rear bumper looked like the rented truck. A bank alert pinged on Layla's phone in Dubai because she had set a rule to flag transactions in Texas over a certain amount. The alert showed 3 small purchases that morning at a discount store, a gas station, and a cafe. The card used was the prepaid card linked to the wellness brand. The merchant category codes fit cleaning supplies, fuel, and a drink. The timing fell within 2 hours of the claimed run. A timeline began to draw itself without anyone speaking. The property manager's platform produced the keyless entry log. It showed that the kitchen door opened after sunrise and closed again within minutes. No front door exit appeared in the window that matched Jenna's story. No front door. The garage sensor showed a door cycle just before dawn. The side gate recorded a remote open at the same time. Each record felt like a steady finger tapping a map. The vehicle's GPS, accessible via the rental company's portal, placed the pickup turning onto a service road behind the property, then idling near a utility easement. It then tracked a slow loop past a construction site with a portable restroom and stacks of lumber. It stopped behind the ranch for 11 minutes, then moved again. At no point did the system show a trip down to the trailhead where locals go to run. If he went for a run, it would have seen a parked truck by the trail. It did not. The clinic receipts filled another gap. Jenna's urgent care visit 2 days earlier included a lab panel consistent with early pregnancy confirmation. A follow-up appointment at a private clinic was set for later that week under a cash plan. The timing of those visits lined up with the gift letter and the trust amendment. Motive is a soft word in a human mouth, but in documents it hardens into sequence. First hope, then money, then control. Layla called the charter broker who had not heard from Khalid in a day. The broker checked his private profile and saw no upcoming flight. The handler reached out to the driver. The driver said he had not been called since the weekend. The circle shrank to the ranch, the woman with manager access on the door system, and a man whose watch said he had not crossed a threshold. The sheriff's office widened the search. They asked for consent to look at the house. Consent was given. Inside, nothing looked like a struggle. The sink smelled faintly of bleach. The trash had been taken out that morning. The laundry machines were running on a long cycle. On the counter, a visitor sticker from a private club in Austin lay folded, the serial number tied to a guest pass for Jenna 2 nights earlier, which contradicted a claim she had stayed at the ranch that entire evening while Khalid slept. Cameras offered a frame. A gas station on the highway recorded a woman matching Jenna's build, buying fuel with the prepaid card at dawn alone. The time code stamped her there while the story placed her on the property looking for a runner. She could have left and come back, But then the smart lock log would show her exit and re-entry. It did not. The contradiction sat still on the screen. Leverage entered in a new form. Jenna told the deputy that she was pregnant and that stress could harm her health. Jenna told the deputy she asked that any search wait until she could rest. She hinted at legal representation. She said she was worried about being treated unfairly because of Khalid's status. The deputy kept his face blank. Jurisdiction lines appear first in tone. A wealthy foreign national missing in a rural county. A partner claiming pregnancy. A rental property governed by contract law. A consulate in Houston with its own protocols. A holding company abroad with counsel on retainer. The machine that applies a pressure was forming on all sides. By late afternoon, the consulate in Houston called Layla. They had received a welfare inquiry from the sheriff and had opened a case file. They asked for family contacts. They asked for travel dates, medical details, and the name of the partner. Layla provided what she had and not one word more. She was careful. She began to assemble a private log that included every alert and timestamp. She took screenshots of the lock system, the bank timeline, and the vehicle map. She began to turn from assistant into operator because someone had to. The contradiction would not go away. The ranch devices said he never left the kitchen. The vehicle said it bypassed the trail. The bank log said purchases were made off-site, while the story kept the narrator on the property. The door system placed exits and entries that could not support the claim. A human can forget. A chip does not. The sheriff seized the ranch gate remote and requested Khalid's passport for safekeeping. The passport was not found. With movement control and identification now in question, the constraint locked in. Hays County treated the ranch like a grid. Deputies walked the fence line first, then the creek, then the easement that paralleled a buried utility. A drone mapped the tree canopy at dawn and again at noon to catch temperature differentials on shaded ground and water. And again at noon, nothing obvious surfaced. The most reliable witness remained the layer of devices already speaking. The rental company authorized a telematics pull. The pickup's event data recorder downloaded through a crash reconstruction kit that technicians carried for rollovers and fatal wrecks. Even without an airbag deployment, the module held useful fragments: ignition cycles, speeds, throttle positions. Between 5:06 and 6:02, the file showed a slow start, a half-mile crawl on gravel, a full stop, then a second ignition cycle 11 minutes later in almost the same coordinates. It never logged a park at the public trailhead Jenna described. Cell records arrived on an exigent basis. Tower pings placed Khalid's phone inside the ranch geofence all morning. Jenna's phone hit a sector along the highway near a discount store at 6:34, then a fuel station camera at 6:49. The prepaid card transactions matched those times. When asked, she said she had taken his truck to check the road into town while he ran. The lock audit contradicted that. The garage door cycled at 5:03, and the side gate opened by remote. There was no front door exit within any plausible window for a runner leaving on foot. Layla built a parallel file in Dubai and mirrored it to counsel in Houston. Screenshots lived in triplicate: smart lock timelines, bank alerts, GPS overlays, vendor receipts. She added small items that law enforcement might miss. The ranch's smart thermostat showing a spike to a sanitary cycle at 6:20. The washer app logging a high heat run marked whites for 60 minutes. The robotic vacuum's route map skipping the HUD minutes. Kitchen for the first time in days. Each datum by itself felt ordinary. Together, they traced intention. The property manager handed over a maintenance ledger. A pool service logged a chlorine adjustment the day before. A handyman replaced a garage keypad battery 2 weeks earlier. A housekeeper noted strong bleach odor once that month. Deputies swabbed high-touch surfaces and packaged paper towels from the outdoor bin. They walked the construction site behind the property where the pickup had idled, photographed the portable restroom, and called the roll-off company to hold any scheduled haul. Nothing obvious tied to a specific act. Everything tied to a morning of cleaning, driving, and small purchases that fit a list scribbled in someone's head. Medical records tightened motive. The urgent care invoice coded for a quantitative HCG test. The private clinic appointment set for later that week sat on a cash calendar under an alias that matched Jenna's hyphenated last name on a second set of business filings. The trust amendment and the gift letter sat in a law firm vault as cleanly as any will. Money had been positioned first. Paper layered on top of hope, then access granted to the systems that controlled doors, gates, and a truck. The sheriff obtained a warrant by late afternoon. Deputies returned to the ranch, methodically photographed the kitchen, bagged the drain trap, removed the P-trap from a bathroom sink, lifted a section of a garage floor mat, and collected the gate remote. They imaged the smart lock hub. They took the washer's lint screen and the laundry detergent bottle with the cap off. They noted a visitor sticker from a private club with a serial number that placed Jenna in Austin the night she said she remained at the ranch. That contradiction now lived in a chain of custody envelope. Vendors cracked the mask. The co-packers south of town produced purchase orders from the wellness brand that reflected small sample runs only, never a retail-scale contract. The co-working space on Congress confirmed a mailbox, not an office. The bookkeeper email bounced on reply. 2 hospitals listed on the brand's partners page sent short statements to counsel that no partnership existed. A tasting table at a community day explained the photographs without lending substance to the claims. By nightfall, the sheriff's office took Jenna to the county building for formal statements. Without dialogue, the record shows posture and timing. An attorney called in from Austin. A pause while documents were reviewed. A termination of the interview when investigators signaled they would seek additional warrants for devices and vehicles. The investigation moved from polite questions to statutory steps, with Penal Code 37.09, tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, now a lens, alongside a missing person case logged with the consulate. Grand jury subpoenas went out in a fan. To the bank controlling the prepaid card, to the escrow office holding the clinic lease earnest money, to the law firm that notarized the trust amendment, to the rental platform that managed the ranch codes, to the mobile carriers for content-neutral logs, and to the roll-off company contracted for the construction site behind the ranch. The purpose on paper was narrow: identify sequence, protect evidence, preserve funds. The escrow office froze the earnest money on receipt of a civil injunction filed by counsel for Khalid's family in Travis County. The filing argued constructive fraud and sought a temporary restraining order preventing disbursement to any LLC managed by Jenna. A judge signed the order the same day. The wellness brand's account, thin to begin with, showed a flurry of small ATM withdrawals after the freeze, then went quiet. The rental pickup underwent a second, deeper exam under a search warrant. This was procedural. A luminol pass, tape lift for fibers, control swabs from the steering wheel and gear selector, a check of the spare tire well, and a look beneath the bed liner for fresh fasteners. Investigators also pulled recent route histories from the telematics unit to map every stop during the ranch tenancy against cameras along the highway. License plate readers caught the truck 3 times within an hour of the alleged run. None of the hits were near the creek trail. Jenna's business filings unraveled under routine corporate diligence. Jenna's business one alias connected to a civil suit 2 states away over a nutrition MLM that had collapsed 4 years prior. A second pointed to a no-contest plea in a deferred case for misdemeanor theft by check. None of it proved anything about the ranch morning. All of it altered how prosecutors read the current pattern. In fraud work, prior conduct informs present risk, especially when new conduct leans on paper and charm. Clinics answered carefully. The urgent care confirmed only a lab order consistent with early pregnancy testing, no diagnosis. The private clinic verified an upcoming appointment under an alias, then noted a same-day cancellation after news of the sheriff's interest reached Jenna's attorney. Same-day cancellation. Investigators could not compel medical content without higher thresholds. They did not need it to advance a financial case. The trust amendment had already created a future entitlement that a court could later litigate with DNA. For now, the documentary sequence mattered more than biological proofs. The consulate pressed process. They assigned a liaison to Hays County, logged the formal communications, and advised the family on victim services and travel. Layla moved into a service department in Austin with a table that became a war desk. Color-coded tabs for devices, finances, property, and witnesses. She met twice with investigators to align timelines. She provided copies of travel policies Khalid's company used in other jurisdictions. 2-person rule on off-grid properties, no new digital managers without written approval, creating a benchmark that made the ranch deviations stand out like flagged. The transactions, charges came in layers, not headlines. A tampering count landed first, aimed at the morning's cleaning and disposal sequence. A theft count followed, tied to the gift letter and the attempted movement of funds under false pretenses. Bond conditions restricted Jenna from contacting property staff, vendors, or Layla. They required surrender of travel documents and GPS monitoring. The passport question lingered. Khalid's remained missing. Publicly, the case became a paragraph on local news sites and a line on evening broadcasts. Wealthy visitor missing. Partner charged with tampering and theft. Privately, pressure ratcheted. Tampering and theft. Defense counsel floated alternative narratives. An impulsive departure, a staged disappearance, a man seeking anonymity. The devices refused to move with those stories. The watch did not log a threshold crossing. The truck did not visit the places a runner would choose. The door system did not support a clean exit path. The contradiction held. Vendors began to talk now that subpoenas narrowed their choices. The property manager admitted discomfort with Jenna's late-night code creation but said the platform allowed guests with manager status to make those changes. Policy would be reviewed. The co-working space forwarded emails where Jenna requested to be listed as suite instead of mailbox. The co-packer shared a draft label compliance sheet showing missing FDA-required statements. Each piece felt minor. Together, they outlined a person practiced in the look of legitimacy more than its substance. Weeks rolled forward without a recovery. Search teams covered culverts, creek bends, construction piles, and roadside ditches within a 3-mile radius, then extended out along feeder roads and low-water crossings. The roll-off bin from behind the ranch, held since the first week, was sifted under lights at a county facility. Paper towels, nitrile gloves, a bakery box, 2 empty bleach bottles, a portable restroom service ticket, ordinary trash that fixed a timeline without resolving an absence. The financial architecture was unwound in courtrooms, not fields. The financial architect. On June 18th, a judge converted the temporary restraining order on the escrow into a preliminary injunction. The earnest money remained frozen pending outcome. On July 2nd, a Travis County grand jury added a count of securing execution of a document by deception, aimed at the gift letter chain that induced the escrow officer to act. On July 15th, a Hays County indictment formalized the tampering charge, citing the early morning cleaning sequence and disposal of items reasonably likely to be used as evidence. Each date was procedural, not dramatic, and each narrowed the space for improvisation, and for family and company, policy hardened. The holding issued new travel protocols: no single key manager access on rentals, mandatory 2-device geofencing, daily check-ins with a human dispatcher, escalation triggers on unacknowledged alerts. Layla drafted the guidance from the same table where she had first printed screenshots. It read like a checklist because checklists save people who refuse to admit they are tired or charmed. The wellness brand dissolved. The co-working mailbox closed. The co-packer wrote off receivables as uncollectible. A short note from the state business registry marked the entity as forfeited for failure to file. Vendors who had been flattered by design and tone left the episode with a new habit of asking for bank letters, not just decks. The missing person file remained open, not just decks. The consulate rotated a second liaison into Austin and pushed the case through Interpol channels as a matter of routine. A family representative offered a private reward. None of it moved the one thing that could close a folder: a verified location for a man whose devices said he never crossed a threshold that morning. On September 9th, the court set a trial date on the financial and tampering counts for midwinter. Defense signaled an intent to sever, to try the paper before the bleach. Prosecutors countered that the pattern could not be split. Access granted, funds positioned, controls loosened, devices contradicting narrative. Cleanup embedded in morning errands. The judge reserved ruling. Embedded in morning. The law prefers neat boxes. Life resists them. There was no single revelation, only accretion. A ranch keyless log that would have been background noise became a metronome. A washer hap meant for convenience took on the weight of intention. A prepaid card meant for incidentals charted an errand loop that fit a cleanup list. A truck module engineered for crash clarity rendered a soft drive along gravel into a map of stops that dodged a public trail. The tools of comfort and efficiency turned into witnesses because they could not forget. By late autumn, the hill country looked like it always does when the heat thins and the light comes in at an angle. The cedar held its scent. The limestone in the creek showed through in pale slabs. The ranch's side gate remote hung on a hook in the property office, tagged and logged and quiet. Wind pushed dust across the gravel and erased shallow prints in minutes. Memory lingered longer in circuits than in the road.